friends, welcome to Arnav's World. So this is the 101st episode in the history series. And today's video is about the history of Alaska. But before that I need to make a new announcement. We're going to start a new series in the history series. Before we made religions, we talked about religions like those. But here today we're going to talk about, guess it? About regions and their histories. Regional histories. So we'll be covering the world region by region, from west to east, from the tip of Alaska to the small islands in the Pacific Ocean. Yes, so we're going to go all the way from here to all the way there. These small regions might contain a part of a nation or many different nations grouped together. So of course, today's video is about the history of Alaska, which is the westernmost of them all. So, let's begin. Okay, let's disrupt this. The first traces of humans in Alaska was about 14,000 years ago. 14,000. When people first crossed the Bering Land Bridge between Siberia and this is Siberia, the tip of Siberia, that is Russia. And here is Alaska and North America, of course. So there are of course small islands. But once upon a time, because of the ice age, yes, at that time there used to be an ice age, not fully earth covering ice age, but just small amount of ice age, like in the northern hemisphere. Okay, well, let's just continue. So there used to be a land bridge here known as the Bering Land Bridge, made almost entirely out of ice. So humans slowly but surely crossed this bridge onto what is now Alaska, and humans for the first time ever set foot in North America. So this was when Alaska was settled for the first time. Let's just drop this brief map because we won't use it later. Now let's take a zoomed in map of Alaska. It's very detailed. It has a strip like this and then a straight line like this. And the small islands, that's it. Okay, so this is what Alaska is. In the present day, Alaska is a state of the United States. But what was its history? So after the 14,000 years ago, when humans for the first time crossed the land bridge, of course, in this barren landscape, humans still stayed there. Although many people migrated into other parts of Americas, a few people still stayed there. Those sparsely populated, of course, humans still settled here. Somehow humans will settle anywhere, whether it's cold, hot, anywhere if there's a place. Mainly over here where there's a bit more hotter climate compared to all of this tundra. Yeah, so humans would mainly settle over here, and here is also where the current capital of Alaska, which is Juneau, is located. It's all because of its heat. It's moderately hotter than this freezing hellscape. Yeah. So let's continue. Humans of course stayed there for a long time as indigenous groups such as the Alouettes, and many of them used to exist there. So now we're going to jump a lot of time later. This is the 18th century. So Britain has already entered the North America, but they haven't still reached up to Alaska. It was still uncolonized. So the Russians, like over there, Siberia. So the Russians recently just started expanding a lot into Siberia to increase their land area, increase their resources. But eventually Siberia, of course, ends. Nothing is infinite, of course. So what's the best next thing to do? Yeah, take their ships and go to Alaska. They didn't know Alaska was there, so they just randomly went on ships and wow, there's a new land here. And it happened to be Alaska, the other side of North America, of course, which people didn't exactly discover yet. Yes, so Russians were the first people to discover Alaska and its people. So of course, as any nation, when it discovers something, it colonizes it. So Russia slowly starts building settlements over here. And in 1741, these settlements will officially become a colony as Russia would slowly start expanding into here, everywhere. Until finally they made a pact with the British so they won't expand to there. So now the border was set like this. This small panhandle thing down here and a straight line all the way here where no one exactly lives. So the main economy of this place was, guess it, by selling fur, because there were many animals with fur such as beavers or many other species like Arctic foxes, Arctic rabbits, things like that. So because of this they could just share their fur and then sell it to other places, make hats out of them, make comfortable clothing out of them, and especially the Russian people needed it because the winters, they could be very, very cold. Yeah. So, but a time came in 1967, just previously a few years ago, no, not exactly a few years ago, just a few days ago, Russia had lost a major battle with the Ottoman Empire, leaving the economy of Russia devastated. So they wanted to sell something which they actually do not need. And of course, Alaska. It was hard to maintain because of its large area and because it had practically nothing except a few fur trading. So they sold it. But not to the British because they were kind of enemies with the British. They didn't want the British to move closer to them. So they did the next best thing, that was aim a bit south and the United States. They sold it to the United States of America. Let's just mark it over here. So the United States of America bought this land for what was then 7 million USD, which is now 129 million United States dollars. Yeah, that's a pretty much lot. A high price. But for so much land, it's not high at all. This is so much land. But they sold it at this price because they were in dire need of money and it was practically worthless. It was no and nothing. So, yeah, the Americans bought it. It was a department at first. Okay. So, but in the 1890s, there was a great discovery. The one and only gold in this area. In this area. So, between Canada and Alaska, there was a lot of gold found there. So, many people from the southern mainland United States just went north because they wanted money. Money makes them rich. And gold, they can just find random gold, they get money, they get rich, they go back to the main United States to live a good life with their families. So because of this, many people settled over here, along in Canada as well. But mainly the British settled in Canada, of course. Yeah. So this was great for the Americans. They just found a lot of gold. Their people were going to be rich. And Russia could have been very sad because they just sold a big humongous amount of land which had gold in it. They might be depressed about them. Okay, but let's just continue. So, of course, this gold will slowly diminish and there's still mines there, of course. But the craze would slowly decrease and decrease. And, of course, later onwards, the Department of Alaska would be converted into the District of Alaska. And then again in 1912, it would be converted into the Territory of Alaska. And finally on January 3rd, 1959, Alaska would become its own separate state, being the 59th state. Of course, the 49th state, the 50th being Hawaii. So yeah, that's the practical history of the US. Of course, there were also some oil reserves found in north, but they were way too north. But another thing happened. The Trans-Alaskan Railway was set up. So it was great. An oil boom also happened along with it. So yeah, this is practically the history of Alaska. It's just the early humans came in. The Russians came in later in the 18th century. Then they colonized it. Then they sold it to the Americans in 19th century, the late 19th century. The Americans found gold. Many people came and settled here. The Russians kind of become depressed. And So slowly but surely, Alaska became a state of the USA. So yeah, this is for today about the history of Alaska. Bye.